Hi everyone, David Aragona and Mike Beer here taking a look at one of the Grade 1 races on the Travers undercard this Saturday at Saratoga. Race 11 is the Grade 1 Forego, one of three Grade 1s run going this 7 furlong distance on Saturday. This one's for the older horses. And Mike, we've got one of the stars of the sport in this race, the number 5, Danno. The winner of this race last year, a multiple Grade 1 winner, and a horse who's going to be really tough to beat if he shows up with his A effort.
Yeah, he's really good. He obviously really likes Saratoga. Sort of swept this series for the older dirt sprinters last year. Came right back and looked really good, winning the True North 2 starts back on this track. He's really good, and he's way the horse to beat.
Few intriguing horses stepping up to face him, coming out of actually a common allowance optional claiming race. We'll talk about that race and if there's anybody that has a shot to beat Danno coming out of it. But make no mistake, the favorite definitely is the one to beat in this Grade 1 Forego. Let's start to go through this field from the rail out, beginning with the number 1 Tiptop Thomas, who was actually one of those horses coming out of that allowance optional claimer that I was referencing. He was the runner-up that day after leading most of the way, took a 2-length lead into upper stretch, just gets run down in the late stages by senior officer. It was a step in the right direction for a horse who had missed a lot of time following his 3-year-old season, kind of ended that season on a sour note with a disappointing performance in the Dwyer, but he got back on track in a big way for Pletcher off the layoff last time, Mike. And when you look at that Timeform US pace projector in the lower right-hand portion of the screen, kind of jumps out at you that there's not a whole lot of speed in this race, and you would imagine from the rail, Flavien Prat just going to send this horse to the front, and maybe that makes him dangerous.
Yeah, I thought. Listen, I entertained, making a real case for this horse in here because I do think he's good. I've always thought he was talented, David, and I know that he opened the clear stretch lead last time and couldn't hold it. But he was attending a solid pace that day, and he was first off a pretty long layoff there too. So I think you could expect him to be a little tighter for this. I like that Pletcher comes right back in a major Grade 1 race with this horse. And I also just feel like from watching his prior races, and I say this recognizing that he's a 2-time stakes winner around 2 turns, I love 7 furlongs for this horse. I think this distance could be really good for Tiptop Thomas.
I totally agree on the distance question. I think 7 furlongs to a mile around 1 turn is the ideal for this horse. So this race hits him right between the eyes. We'll just see if he's able to class up second off this layoff. The number 2 is him. He was the runner-up in the prior race in this series at Saratoga, the Grade 2 Alfred G. Vanderbilt. That race probably not coming up quite as tough as this Forego now, given the presence of Danno skipping that race and running in this one. So it's probably a step up in class for him, but he ran pretty well, Mike, and kind of showed that he's turned into a different horse this year, primarily since they gelded him in the early part of this year. I think it was back in early April since he's become a gelding. And the 4 starts since then, they have been the best races of his career. It feels like they've kind of figured out how to ride him, or he can sit off the pace and then kind of launch that run at the top of the stretch. He was second best to Built last time, and he's got to stretch out to 7 furlongs, but he's hardly out of it in this field.
No, I agree. Yeah, listen, and you're right that this race is tougher than the one that he just ran in. I would say save the winner of that race, who I'm kind of surprised that he didn't come back and try to run in this race. I'm not sure what the plans with him, but Bill's gotten very good, and he was a heavy favorite that day, and he won easily. And I thought him ran just fine in that race, as you pointed out. This horse, I think, a really impressive debut win for this horse, and then he lost 9 races in a row before they finally gelded him, and then his form is totally turned around since then. He can, if this pace isn't fast, he can keep up and sit in the pocket in this race. And he's going to be a good price in here too.
The number 3, Kraft. He's another horse coming out of the Vanderbilt last time out. And he really didn't finish that far behind him. He was 4th to him, 2nd place finish, but just finished a length behind that foe at the wire. Maybe a little wider on the turns if that mattered a bit in the end. But both of them were no match for Built, the much improved Built on that day. Mike, this horse, Kraft, he's tried Grade 1 company before. Wasn't really disgraced when he did so in the Woody Stevens last year, but I wouldn't say that I've ever viewed him as a horse that was capable of winning at this level, especially against a rival like Danno.
Yeah, with Danno showing up, it sort of changes everything here. If he wasn't in the race, I don't think I would look at this and say that Kraft is totally overmatched in here. I actually feel like I still think he's an underrated horse. And I'll just put it this way. I know he's facing maybe the best dirt sprinter in the country. I've seen way worse 20-1 shots than Kraft.
How can you not love the number 4, Crazy Mason? He's such a fun horse to watch run. He drops way back in the early stages, tries to launch this big rally through the stretch. Sometimes it works out. More often than not, recently it has not, and he's leaves himself a bit too much to do, but he's always trying hard at the ends of his races. Mike, you can ask the question this year, is he quite as good now as a 5-year-old as he was during his 4-year-old season? Because He lacks a victory so far this season, and he hasn't really come close to it. He has faced some tough competition along the way, though. I mean, he had little chance to win that Churchill Downs 2 back where nobody was beating Tio Elvis on that occasion, and he actually ran well to get up for third that day. I wanted to see more from him in the most recent race at Churchill. Maybe a mile's a bit far for him. He's cutting back to the right distance here. I just wish there was more pace signed on to set up that late run.
Yeah, it just doesn't set up well for him again here. He is a horse who is totally dependent on the race setting up the right way for him because, as you mentioned, yeah, it's fun to watch him run at least through the stretch of the race because you can't watch him run the first half of the race because he's never on your TV screen.
Up next is the number 5, Bookham Danno, the horse that I pegged as the even money morning line favorite. And Mike, not only has he proven himself as a top level sprinter who was actually the champion in this division last year, but he's a horse that has proven himself to really love Saratoga. 5 for 6 here. Both of his grade 1 wins have been earned going this distance at Saratoga. Like we said, the winner of the Forego last year. I think earlier this year, maybe there was some question as to whether or not he had come back as the same horse because he lost at such a short price coming off the layoff in the Carter, but he got things back on track in the True North. I know that was just a grade 3 race, but in retrospect, that might have been the sprint race of the year run so far. The fact that he was able to beat Ben Tornado and even listen up Chance was turned into a really good horse. And then he got this Preppin' at Monmouth last time. We'll take a look at the stretch run. He didn't win this by as big a margin as you might have expected based on the price he was and the way the field lined up against him, Mike, but I don't think they were looking for his A effort on this occasion.
I don't think so either. Yeah, they obviously just wanted to let him run, and he's a Jersey bred. And the owners are from Jersey, and they just wanted him to run at Monmouth once this summer. So that's what they did here, and he's just kind of doing what he has to do here to beat overmatched horses. It's maybe in some ways it's a perfect prep for this horse, especially in light of what he did 2 starts back, David. I don't know, if you have any feelings on that race, but I just thought he was really, really good and maybe better than ever when he won the True North 2 back.
I completely agree. Watching that replay back, I kind of appreciated again, having forgotten a little bit how well he ran that day because it felt like Ben Tornado fired his best shot and Bookham Danno just ran him down in the late stages. When this horse shows up, he's really good, and make no mistake, he is going to be awfully tough to beat in this spot, just at a very likely short price. The number 6 is Senior Officer, and if Bookham Danno does get upset, Mike, I think that this horse is probably the most likely candidate to pull it off because we don't yet know how good he is. It's just the 7th start of his career, and he's looked really good since coming back for this 5-year-old season. Obviously, he was a horse that was kind of tough to keep on the racetrack early in his career, but whatever physical issues he had, it seems like they sorted those out now that he's a 5-year-old, and he's just gotten better and better along the way. We'll take a look at the most recent of his victories when he got the job done over Tiptop Thomas, we already talked about, and watch him highlighted here. He's the horse in those maroon silks, the number 4, with Tiptop Thomas on the lead. Right here, Senior Officer is going to kind of lose his path between horses and lose valuable momentum at a really critical point in the race when you want to be building up your momentum to go after that leader. The fact that he's able to sort of regather himself, come back through on the inside, then shifting outside and rally between horses to get the victory just kind of speaks to the form that he's in right now. And he should have an easier trip coming to him here, Mike, being drawn outside of his main rival.
I agree. That was a really good win for that horse. I would point out, I'm with you on the trip part of this too. We should be sort of right up close in here. I guess, maybe there's a chance though that Tiptop Thomas runs even better in this race now that he's 2nd off the layoff. So maybe that just makes it tougher to get past him. But either way, this horse is good, man. He hasn't run a bad race yet. And, his connections are obviously, they're just doing the right thing here, David. It's all allowance races up to this point. He's ready to step up in class here. You find out how good he is right now.
We'll skip over the number 7, Banishing, because it's been reported he is going to run instead at Charlestown on Friday to defend his title in the Charlestown Classic, so he will not be shipping to Saratoga for this race. We'll round out the field with the number 8, Bring the Smoke. Another horse coming out of that really tough allowance optional claimer on July 26th, where he finished behind both Senior Officer and Tiptop Thomas, settling for 4th on that occasion. That said, Mike, this horse didn't run badly in that race. He got a little shuffled early, was making a run in the stretch. He just couldn't quite match the late finishing speed of Senior Officer, who had a tougher trip than he did.
Yeah, he tried really hard in that race. I have no problem with the race that he ran there. And I guess I don't have any real problem with them coming back in this race either, just to see what happens here, because he's another kind of progressive kind of horse. And his last couple of races are really good. He's gonna have to, probably gonna have to run pretty well here to beat some of these horses drawn to his inside, though. This is a tough spot.
Let's go to our picks for the grade 1 Forego. And Mike, are you with Bookham Danno or against him? Because he's the horse that is going to take a lot of money in here, a horse that a lot of people are going to be tempted to single in the late pick 5 or pick 6 sequences going through this race into the Travers. Where are you landing?
Yeah, I sided with him here. I just decided ultimately, Dave, just because I feel like I'm probably not going to have a bunch of money in against this horse. So I'm just going to pick him on top as far as picks goes. As a matter of fact, as far as my picks go, and I put him second because I do think he's going to run well in here. This is one of those where if I could go back, this is 2 days after I finished this card. If I could go back and change these picks, I would probably have him 5, 1, 2, 6, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, Tiptop Thomas, I do think he's dangerous as a potential threat to wire the field. That is his big advantage. I still put the number 6 senior officer on top. I'm going to take a small shot against Bookham Danno with this horse. I just feel like he's really gotten good. He's maybe running even better than it looks in a few of his recent victories. So we'll see if he can class up against the proven grade 1 winner, Bookham Danno. 6-5-1-4 for me and 5-2-6-1 for Mike in the grade 1 Forego on Travers Saturday at Saratoga. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.